"11 Essential Movies" by Paul Verhoeven, master satirist of cinema. Paul Verhoeven has been one of the most successful directors from the Netherlands and also one of the most controversial. He has mastered the art of perfecting a satirical narrative, and his works often expose the hypocrisies of society. Having spent his childhood under Nazi occupation, the veteran filmmaker saw some of the harshest living conditions ever, conditions that he often reflects in his works. That being said, for many, he will always be a trash merchant whose exploits in the American genre have been more Hollywood than Hollywood itself. With hits like Robocop, Basic Instinct, and many other entertaining and thought-provoking movies, he isn't scared to portray the double-faced nature of society. Neither is he hesitant when it comes to seductive voyeurism and grotesque violence. You may love him or think him to be overrated, but you simply cannot ignore the significance of his filmography. In this video, we have put together a compilation of 11 of his most brilliant works that bring out the best of the master satirist of cinema. Before we go into our list, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click from you, but it means a lot to us. Thank you. Let's begin. Starship Troopers, 1997. In a futuristic world, a militaristic society has taken shape where civilians must join the army to become a class citizen. Johnny Rico joins the military along with his girlfriend Carmen, but soon realizes that they are fighting for all the wrong reasons. After getting separated from Carmen, he strives to become a fine soldier to prove his worth. In the meantime, tragedy strikes, and highly intelligent alien bugs pose a threat to Earth.
Kill them! Kill them all!
In the full-scale war that follows, Johnny must help his fellow soldiers for the sake of humanity. The plot probably sounds like just another ordinary action flick, but this is where Paul Verhoeven injects his master stroke. He brings about a subtle anti-war theme in his storytelling, and the intelligent social commentary becomes the heart of the movie. We see how patriotism is being exploited by those in charge to lure young people into a pointless war. It takes courage to dress the seemingly good guys in Nazi uniforms, but Verhoeven never shied away from such daring stuff. Besides the Nazi symbolism, the absurdity of the perfect society in this film will blow your mind, satirizing jingoistic American politics. Starship Troopers also has some amazing effects that make the battle scenes stand out. It was even nominated for the Academy Award for Best Visual Effects. The violence is extreme, and you will either be satisfied or turned off by the brutality on screen. This is sci-fi at its best, and you will rarely get a better critique of fascism.
Cut him off! That way! Over there! Hold it! He's over there! Don't move!
Total Recall, 1990. Douglas Quaid is a simple construction worker who gets disturbing visions of a colonized Mars. To get rid of the trauma, he goes to a company that replaces disturbing memories with happy ones. However, there's an error with a procedure that causes Quaid to discover that his current life has actually been a false memory all along. He remembers being a secret agent who fought the administration on Mars, but the people who got his memories replaced now want him dead. The best thing about Total Recall is how you're in constant doubt over what's real and what isn't. This classic Verhoeven sci-fi thriller poses the intriguing question of how much you can really trust your memory.
Catch!
Get ready for a surprise!
We can confidently say that this is one of the best movies of Arnold Schwarzenegger, who stars as the protagonist. While the narrative isn't as action-packed as some of his other films, the constant suspense surely makes up for it. The special effects by Rob Bottin deserve a special mention because they were way ahead of their time. As a viewer, you actually feel like you're on a vicarious trip to Mars. Total Recall does justify its humongous budget, and it is no surprise that the movie was an Oscar nominee for Best Effects category. You must check it out if you have a taste for the satirical storytelling of Verhoeven.
Looking for me?
Robocop, 1987. The city of Detroit is troubled by societal chaos, with crime rates reaching unmanageable levels. Alex Murphy is a determined cop who pursues the notorious Clarence Boddicker and his gang. When Murphy is seemingly shot to death, his corpse is transformed into Robocop, a powerful cyborg that leads an efficient campaign against crime. However, he starts to recall memories of his death and soon uncovers the evil plans of the corporation that built him. What will happen when Robocop turns against its makers? Robocop has been ingrained in pop culture over the years, but even today, the relevance of the plot is as strong as ever. The satirical narrative is spot on as we see everything from the rich and powerful provoking organized crime to the militarization of the police. Parts of the movie where we watch consumers being desensitized by news and propaganda are probably more relatable in today's world than when it was released. This cyberpunk action flick is helped by a soulful performance from Peter Weller, and the massive popularity led to a franchise over the years. We were awed by the brilliant design of the Robocop suit, and there are some insane stunts that make things exciting. The suit required Herculean efforts to make, and even affected Weller physically. He lost over 3 pounds every day from the water loss caused by the heavy and suffocating prosthetics. Despite the futuristic storytelling and absurdity of the plot, Robocop hits so close to reality today that it hurts. The Fourth Man, 1983. Gerard Reeve is a morbid, alcoholic writer who has unexplained visions that seem to warn him about some impending danger. He is invited for a lecture and starts an affair with a woman from the audience named Christine. Gerard is bisexual, and on his way to the lecture, he was attracted by a handsome man who happens to be Christine's boyfriend. After finding his picture at her place, he plans to seduce him, but in the absence of Christine, discovers 3 tapes that contain videos of men Christine had married before. All 3 blokes died under mysterious circumstances, and Gerard starts to believe that Christine might be the reason behind their deaths. Is he the doomed 4th husband? This is one of those deeply disturbing and exciting movies that you do not want to watch but cannot look away from either. The genius of Verhoeven finds an able partner in cinematographer Jan de Bont, and the two create a surreal atmosphere of sickening sexual imagery. The Fourth Man is not everyone's cup of tea, and some of the sex scenes are too gratuitous for comfort, but the symbolism is fascinating. We were also bowled over by the designs here. The work with the lingering camera movements and the clever color choices that add to the evocative psychodrama that unfolds. The scene where Gerard has a dream within a dream is an insight into the complexities that Verhoeven dives into. There is an uncanny Hitchcock style that you will notice in The Fourth Man, making this easily one of Verhoeven's finest works ever.
Like armpits, too.
Want to come, Naomi?
Not me.
I'll come.
All right, let's
Hey,
go.
just got 500 off a lap dance.
Al, just stop.
You act like somebody died.
Showgirls, 1995. Nomi Malone is an ambitious young lady who wants to make it big as a dancer in Vegas. She is gorgeous and passionate and soon catches the eye of Crystal Connors, one of the big shots in the city. However, Nomi dreams of reaching the top of the glamour world, and for that, she doesn't mind using the twisted road at times. She soon realizes that there can only be one starlet in the industry, and it has to be made between Crystal and herself. As the competition rises between the two, how far will she go to come out on top? We are all aware of the perils of the glamour industry, but a story so deep has seldom been attempted on this subject. Showgirls is a misunderstood classic because people quickly term it as sexist and unnecessarily exploitative. They miss the whole purpose is to expose the thin veneer of empowerment that often covers up the blatant sexism in society. Here we have a female protagonist who is willing to do everything from selling her dignity to sleeping with her boss for personal gains. In the end, she claims to have won herself, and that is a sharp critique of those who harp on the pseudo-empowerment that is present in movies. Elizabeth Berkley is exactly who Verhoeven wanted for the role, and her dramatic mannerisms are intentionally introduced to get under your skin. Of course, there are also some really funny scenes that take the heat off the serious narrative. Verhoeven had planned a sequel for Showgirls, but given the poor response from the audience, he bailed on it.
No wonder it didn't work out between us!
Hollow Man, 2000. It is cool to become invisible, but only if you have the power to reverse it. Sebastian Cain learns the hard way following his development of a serum that can make him invisible. After fooling around a bit in his new state, his colleagues fail to return him to visibility, beginning his mental decline. He becomes increasingly unstable and commits acts of violence in a fit of rage. When he starts murdering his team members, he turns into a danger that must be dealt with immediately. What happens next is for you to find out after watching this gem of a thriller. This story about a brilliant but arrogant scientist is a visual delight. It is no surprise to expect something extraordinary from Verhoeven in terms of spectacle, and he lives up to his reputation one more time. The terrific special effects, which received an Oscar nomination, bolster the basic storyline before you. As far as acting is concerned, Kevin Bacon is rightfully cast as the maniacal Sebastian Cain. The film gets increasingly violent and bloody as it goes along, but you will realize after watching it that it was never done for cheap thrills. There are some shock sequences that are simply unforgettable, and the thrilling climax will make you jump in your seats. If you plan on watching Hollow Man, get your hands on the director's cut that contains most of the deleted scenes. They did try making a sequel without consulting Verhoeven, and the attempt was bashed by the fans who could never get over the original.
Did you kill Mr. Boz, Miss Trammell?
I'd have to be pretty stupid to write a book about killing and then kill somebody the way I described it in my book. I'd be announcing myself as the killer. I'm not stupid.
Basic Instinct, 1992. Johnny Boz, a former rock star, is found murdered, and it appears that he had been killed during intercourse. Nick Caron, a violent detective troubled with personal issues, is handed the investigation, and he sets out to interrogate Catherine Trammell, the alluring lady who was Boz's girlfriend. After a meeting with this mysterious woman, he is convinced that she is the murderer, but there is not enough evidence to prove his case. Meanwhile, he is getting involved in a dangerous, lust-filled mind game with Catherine that has the potential to hamper the investigation. Will Nick be blinded to the real truth by all the sexual escapades with this femme fatale? Has there been an erotic thriller to match the intensity of Basic Instinct? We think not. This sleazy, amoral tale is enhanced by some intriguing characters, none more mystifying than Sharon Stone as the ravishing Catherine Trammell. The infamous interrogation scene where she exposes a bit too much to exploit the police officers in the room is hard to miss. It is believed that Sharon Stone's panties were causing extensive glare in the camera, prompting Verhoeven to ask her to remove them. However, this deft touch of combining voyeurism with shock made for a clever satirical subversion that almost ridicules the double standards of society. Michael Douglas is perfect as the hot-headed detective who is almost in a trance, lusting for Catherine. Jerry Goldsmith's fascinating background score was deservingly nominated for the Oscar Awards. There are some raunchy moments that sparked off a lot of protests, but they are kind of crucial to the script. Watch out for the plot twists that will change your perspective in the blink of an eye. Flesh and Blood, 1985. This is a story from medieval Europe where a band of mercenaries help the noble Arnolfini win back his castle. They are promised great rewards for their assistance, but when the promise is broken, they decide to take revenge by kidnapping his son. Having to hide in a castle to wait out a storm, the mercs are unaware that Arnolfini's army is on their heels, and soon their fates will be decided. Flesh and Blood is often accused of being over the top, but this amoral, hypnotic adventure is more real than Hollywood. When Hollywood movies envision medieval peasants and soldiers, they usually glorify them overtly. In this instance, you get to see poor people with unkempt clothes and terrible living standards. The story is very humane, and you will end up sympathizing with the characters. There are some standout performances from Rutger Hauer and Jennifer Jason that elevate the quality of the film. The direction by Verhoeven is as efficient as ever, and it is a true classic that has been ignored for too long. Flesh and Blood also serves as a specimen of well-crafted religious imagery that makes it so thought-provoking. There are some disturbing moments, especially the rape scenes that many people criticize, but most of it just adds to the effort of trying to be realistic. This is not for the prudish or those easily offended by extreme violence, but if you don't have such reservations and are looking for a well-made medieval drama, this surely fits the bill.
Godverdomme! Geef godverdomme Satirist! Ik zal jou godverdomme... Je vloekt!
Black Book, 2006. During the Second World War, a Jewish girl named Rachel Stein manages to hide from the Nazis in the Netherlands. She joins the resistance and takes on a new name to become an undercover agent. She meets an SS official, Ludwig Muntz, and seduces him to gain his trust. This helps her join his office and perform her duties as a spy. However, the tides turn when someone in the resistance group betrays her. Now a villain for both sides and nowhere to run, Stein must prove her innocence and get away with the man she loved. After a very successful Hollywood career, Verhoeven made this film in the Netherlands. It had one of the biggest budgets for a Dutch movie, and Verhoeven surely did justice to all the big bucks spent. The horrors of occupied Holland and the tyrannical rule of the Nazis soon turn into a different story altogether. The plot has a lot of surprises in store for you, and the exciting themes of tragic romance and espionage make it a must-watch for those who love a good thriller. The cast is perfect. Each of them exudes authenticity that adds to the realism. There are some thought-provoking scenes, especially in the final moments of the movie when it delves into the relationship between justice and war, the scars of the past, and the promises of the future. Black Book is a masterpiece that puts together a World War II drama in the best way possible. Elle, 2016. Michelle is a wealthy entrepreneur who runs a successful video game company. She is ruthless in her must-win attitude, and it even reflects in her personal relationships. However, her invincibility is shattered when she is attacked and raped by an unknown assailant in her home. She is determined to get the man who attacked her, and as she tries to track him down, they get embroiled in an intriguing cat-and-mouse game. Who could the rapist be? Paul Verhoeven ages like fine wine, and this movie is a great example of his evergreen talent. Elle combines his provocative style of filmmaking with Isabelle Huppert's demanding performance, creating a powerful storyline with a protagonist you won't forget in a long time. Can you imagine a lady ordering from a restaurant after being assaulted over calling the cops? She even has an interesting backstory that will put things into perspective. Isabelle Huppert acted her heart out, and every bit of her antics will spook or intimidate you. Her relationship with the rapist forms much of the movie, and even after their identity is revealed, the thrill game continues. The convoluted plot is certainly meant for a mature audience, and the grim subject matter might be off-putting to many. If you're up for it, an unconventional drama with a careful balance of seriousness and funny awaits you.
Ja. Kom maar, schat.
Turkish Delight, 1973. Eric is a gifted sculptor who is madly in love with the gorgeous Olga. However, Olga's parents are convinced that Eric is not stable enough to be a good husband. Eventually, after many hardships, Eric and she go their separate ways. They have a brief reunion, but will there be a happy ending after all? When Paul Verhoeven takes up the responsibility of directing a story of love, you can bet it will be something unique. This delightful movie is often discarded as just another exploitation film, but it is so much more. The intriguing story of Eric, the perennial woman chaser, will keep you hooked, and the outlook on sex is simply humorous. The masterful camera work courtesy of Jan de Bont is one of the greatest assets of Turkish Delight. The likes of Rutger Hauer and Van de Ven have performed brilliantly to start off successful careers for themselves. It is a daring attempt, and the explicit scenes will tell you that Verhoeven cares little for the censors. This tale of passion is also a great criticism of the high-headedness of society regarding the acceptable characteristics of a potential mate. It wouldn't be complete without the satirical approach, showing that even in the early days of his career, Verhoeven was putting out exceptional works. This is all the time we had for today's episode. We hope you guys liked it. It would be awesome if you guys can take some time to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to tell us which topic you want us to cover in the comment section. Have a fantastic day ahead and stay safe.